And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Gord Sheppard to start the first part of our session. Gord is the president of the YEG Passport Club. And Gord, stage is yours.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me? Just raise your hand if you can hear me. Raise both hands if you can really hear me. That's perfect. All right, here we go. I'm going to do this thing, and we'll do these slide things. There we go, view, and there we go. Can everybody see the slides? Put your hands up if you can see the slides. Perfect, here we go. Well, we're going to talk today about effective Rotary meetings. I've got about 15 minutes to do something that I do in 3 hours professionally with a lot of people all over the province and, in fact, across the country. There's a workbook that you've been sent in a PDF format that you can refer to a little bit here and there to pull out tips on your own. It's called the Meeting Leadership Workbook. And some of the things that we're going to refer to here in there today are going to be in that workbook. And now do me a favor, because we've been putting our hands up. Put your hands in the air if you love Rotary meetings. Like, let me see how many people I can see there. No, oh, half up. Sort of, okay. And put your hands in the air if you've ever chewed a pencil off in a Zoom meeting. Anybody? There you go. All right, listen, I asked you if you love Rotary meetings. I'll tell you why I love Rotary meetings. I think, you know, a great Rotary meeting is essentially the building block of a great club, right? So when you can have that great meeting, the impact of that is honestly, it's going to be like dropping kind of a pebble in the pond, right? Where you can have that great meeting. It helps with recruiting. It's going to help you with sort of, you know, the way that people experience your club, your own experience in the club. And that impacts not only your club, but the work that you do. It impacts the district, the zone, impacts ultimately up to international. So I want to say there's quite a bit there riding on it when you show up to a Rotary meeting. And we're going to kind of get into the individual part and facilitation here today. And that's a big reason why I love Rotary meetings myself. And I think where it starts for me in the training, when I want to get this one big concept across for sure, is I believe that you can choose how you act during a Rotary meeting, right? You can show up on these Zoom calls, for example, or in a regular in-person meeting. And if you're not in control of yourself, you might be kind of feeling like this fella. And if you're showing up and you're putting yourself together and you're really coming to, you know, to deliver every time, these are the contrasting ways that you can do it. Literally every time you show up for a Rotary meeting. And part of the inspiration of this for me is from what I call a bucket list book. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And in here, we're lucky, so lucky for the legacy of Viktor Frankl. Now, Viktor Frankl, you know, was taken prisoner of war in the Nazi concentration camps. And that was in World War II. And when he went in there, there was 1 in 28 people who made it out alive. People around him being beaten, starved, tortured, murdered. And he made a wonderful discovery that he's passed along and so much more. But one of the key concepts from this book and from his life that we can learn is that, you know, you actually have a choice in those given situations. So here he was, you know, people around him being beaten, starved, tortured, murdered. And he realized that in between stimulus and response, in between all those things happening around him and his response, there's a gap. And in that gap is the power to choose your response. And he felt that when you can choose your response, you can choose your freedom. Now, this great gift that we get from him, I believe we can bring forward, especially as Rotarians, to our meetings to choose how we act in a given situation. So when we hear those things from people like, I don't know Zoom, I didn't learn the tech, and all those things that sort of come up as things over and over again on Zoom meetings, I think it's time to maybe step up and take responsibility for those things and choose how to get involved. If you're maybe being quiet and you want to learn how to do some more things in a meeting, like being more vocal, let's find the way to do those things. And that's the spirit of what we want to carry forward right now. It gets us into our first breakout room. And in this breakout room, we're going to answer 3 key questions. You're going to be together in pairs. So one person and one person. You're going to ask each other, how do you act during a meeting? How do you want to act during a meeting? And the third question is, how are you going to get there? And we're thinking about our Rotary meetings. How do you act during a meeting? How do you want to act during a meeting? How are you going to get there? Jot them down if you need them. We're also going to post them when you're in the breakout rooms as well. And right now, Deneen, if you can send them off to the breakout rooms one-on-one, have a blast. We'll see you in about 5 minutes.
I guess we're coming back faster than we left.
I hope that went well for everybody and that you had a chance to learn a little bit about yourself. And I want you to take a second, if you've got the workbook, that's great. And if you don't, just take some time, just some quiet time to jot down what you learned about yourself. How do you act during a meeting? How do you want to act during a meeting? And how are you going to get there? And just be quiet right now. Take about a minute and write down your answers to those things. And then I'm going to start again when you're done.
Gordon, while we're doing that, my breakout group had 2 people in it. So I was a little surprised at the size, given there's 60 people on this call.
You doing mine too?
Yeah, ours too.
Yeah, mine too.
Apparently we got like homework and partners, and I didn't know it was this.
I thought the two room was by design.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
I think it might have been by design.
Oh, okay.
How you doing,
There was
Gordon?
only one person in my room.
Well, that would have been a good conversation.
It was very one-sided.
Super. Thanks, folks. I hope you've made your notes. And if not, just jump to page 1 in the workbook if you ever need it. Second step that I like to get across to people is get a great meeting facilitator. We're lucky in the Yegg Passport Rotary Club. We've only got about 16 people in the group. But like I always like to say is if I was the hockey coach for this hockey team, this team's going to the NHL. Every player on this team is outstanding. And it's a lucky thing to be able to facilitate these meetings because we're able to move a lot of information along. And there's some little tips I want to pass along maybe that I can think about that I use when I'm in a position to facilitate a situation. One is to be able to, politely interrupt people and respectfully interrupt them. So if they're getting too excited about having, too long a conversation, you want to make that happen. And then for the folks that maybe don't contribute as much, finding a way to engage as many people as possible. I know we've talked about all kinds of different meeting types. Sometimes you've got 50 or 100 people on a call and you can't get to everybody in a given meeting, but maybe over a period of a few meetings, we can make sure that everyone at least gets a chance to contribute. And if those quiet people aren't contributing sort of out loud, maybe they've got a chance to talk to your facilitator before the meeting, get their information to them, and then that way the facilitator will make sure that their ideas are introduced.
Hi, how you doing?
Into the situation.
I'm on a Zoom meeting. That's why I didn't answer right away. I was in a breakout room with one of.
Can you mute, please?
Awesome.
Oops.
Yeah, there you go. And one of the things you can learn about also on a meeting is the mute button. And that was just an actually planned demonstration of how we're doing. One of the things you can do also, if you check out the workbook, is you'll see a little rating system for, if you've got someone, if you rate them out of 10 as a facilitator, if they're a 2 out of 10, is it always true that the president has to lead the meeting if they're not very good at running the meeting? Anybody? I'm going to leave that hanging there because I know that the president has that responsibility, and either you're good at running the meeting or get good at running the meeting. And maybe this is a way to think about it. Where am I at right now? Am I kind of a 5 out of 10? Do I demonstrate the behaviors in that kind of zone? Can I get to an 8 out of 10? If you're a 10 out of 10, please start to volunteer to train other facilitators in the district. We can't get enough of sort of people that are, have that sort of touch for running a great meeting, especially a Zoom meeting. All right. We're going to get into another breakout room. I think there's going to be 3 people in this breakout room for the people that are nervous in the one-on-ones. There's going to be 3 characters in this role play that we have. There's going to be the Rotary president or meeting facilitator. There's going to be the chatty person. They're very excited about their local projects. And then there's going to be the silent person who doesn't get to contribute. We're going to be out there for a little bit longer this time. So everyone sort of over a period of about 2 minutes should get a chance to rotate through each role in the role play. So again, the scenario is one person's playing the Rotary president, who's the facilitator, and then there's a chatty person. They're probably chatting about the excitement they have for their latest local project. And then the third person is kind of silent and bored. And then what you want to be able to do is, as a facilitator, try out these techniques of being able to either politely interrupt and get somebody's attention, or be encouraging to the silent person. Just try that on for a bit, and then we'll rotate through, and then we'll rotate through. Everyone will get a chance to facilitate. And again, we're going to send you off to these breakout rooms of 3 people. So have a good time. Thanks, folks. I hope you got a chance to sort of try out your facilitation techniques or give the facilitator a hard time in that little scenario going forward. And I just want to sort of jump in here again and say, just as I finish up my part here, what would happen if everyone in your next Rotary meeting was really self-aware, in terms of then bringing their A game every meeting they came to and really showing up in the best way that they could? And what would happen if you had an engaged and enthusiastic meeting facilitator every time? Does it always have to be the president? Can you rotate that around and try different people out? Can you have your president-elect step in and try it out so they're getting ready for whatever they're going to do? Start to shake it up and really make those things, working for you. So ultimately, in the end, I said, I believe that Rotary meetings, great Rotary meetings, are the building blocks of a great club, right? It's like dropping a pebble in the pond. When you do that, it'll impact you, it'll impact your club. Ultimately, it'll impact all the projects and all the good works that you're doing, locally and around the world, impact the district, the zone, and Rotary International overall. And I want to say thank you so much to Jody and Donna for the chance to present here today. And I hope you're able to take 1 or 2 bits out of there, take it to your next meeting and knock it out of the park. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gord.